Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from archTIS Ltd, a software solution provider for secure collaboration. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Kurt Muffelman, Global COO and U.S. President of archTIS Ltd, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol ARHLF and on the ASX under the symbol AR9. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, Matt, good morning. Thank you very much, and good evening to our valued shareholders over in Australia. So I'm really pleased to introduce you to archTIS today. I'm really looking forward to showing you how archTIS is trusted to safeguard the world's most sensitive information. And that's really key today in today's geopolitical challenges that are going on. As a means of introduction, my name's Kurt Muffelman. I've been running and building technology companies for the last 25 years. The team and I have had 5 successful shareholder exits, and we've been named the Deloitte Fast 500 for running the fastest global technology companies in the world 2 times. So we're really pleased to introduce you to archTIS today. archTIS is a data-centric software technology company that secures information access, sharing, and the collaboration of that information across the enterprise. Our strength and growth really comes from 3 core pillars of people, technology, and market opportunity. On the people side, I'm joined by an executive team of 2 very seasoned individuals in Daniel Lai, our CEO and managing director, who is also a co-founder of the company 16 years ago, and Kylie Sheether, an experienced public CFO across a number of prior ASX entities. People also carry across into kind of our customers and partners. We have a number of marquee and global customers spanning large government, defense, and intelligence agencies, large defense industrials, and a number of key enterprises that need to protect sensitive information and confidential data in the financial services, manufacturing space, and across the globe. archTIS has an industry-leading partnership with key technology partners like Microsoft, Thales, NetApp, and KPMG. And our recently concluded fiscal year of June 30th, we recognized a 37% year-over-year growth, while actually reducing our cash burn by 52% from the prior year. Our technologies cover 2 really respected and mature products in the market in Cogency and NC Protect that allow us to protect key and sensitive information. And finally, what we're really excited about is the market tailwinds. The market opportunity is right in front of us. Analysts from Market and Markets indicate that the data-centric security growth is almost $40 billion by the end of 2030. And it's just opening up the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times every day. You see that security breaches, IP theft, or geopolitical concerns possibly harm the overall national security and those of us as individuals. If we look at the results from the last recently concluded year of June 30th, archTIS did $6.4 million of revenue, a 37% increase from the prior year. Licensing increased 22% year over year, and our annual recurring revenue is over $3.6 million. As noted in the chart, these are all Australian dollars, which is about 2/3 to 70% of what the US dollar is, just from a note standpoint. We also had 11% of the prior quarter, and our net churn is under 1% on a per quarter basis. As an early stage technology company, we have an existing cash burn, which used mainly for sales, marketing, and distribution of our products. We had $3.2 million of cash at the end of the year, with another 3.7 collected at the end of in the beginning of the new year. We do not carry any debt on the balance sheet. One interesting note is to point out that since inception of the IPO in September of 2018, we've only raised $26 million. You'll most likely be familiar with security companies raising 5, even 10 times that amount, and not yet be at the level of having 2 mature product offerings, marquee customers, and a global distribution strategy. We've been very capital efficient, and in these different times of coming off the pandemic, increased inflation, and overall market opportunity, we continue to plan that level of discipline as we move forward. Our share price has been relatively flat during 2023. However, given the recent valuation hits on the technology space, we feel that we've been holding our own and remain bullish on the future. Our management team is closely aligned to shareholder value, as 20% of our outstanding shares of the company are held by executives, founders, and directors. If we look at last year's highlights, we're really excited again to show that in this challenging technology time, we increased our revenue by 37% revenue growth. We collected $9.5 million of cash collections. That was over a 200% increase in customer collections. And again, in our move towards becoming cash flow positive, we reduced our cash outflows by 52%. Kind of the core financials that we track, we increased ARR dramatically. We decreased our operating expenses. And as stated before, we had strong cash collections in ARR. What we're really looking forward to as we go into FY24, starting in July, was that just at the end of the quarter, we closed a $4.1 million deal, which was a 6-month proof of concept with one of the Australian defense agencies. That will give us a good ability to start FY24 with strong revenue, strong backlog, and a drive towards building FY24 as we move forward. Just in the quarter alone in the year, we continued to drive customer traction. Just in the quarter, we closed DHL, which is a global logistics company, which is a Microsoft co-sell partner that I'll explain later, and Bank of Finland. And that carried across some of the product innovations that we had in leading some technologies into integrating into Microsoft Power BI, different classification engines, and even some of the giant file share organizations such as NetApp, Nutanix, NetApp, Nutanix, and BAE. And lastly, we've tied into some of the nice technology that Thales has across the encryption engines that are very important in our overseas markets. And lastly, in our last quarterly announcement, we will be launching our flagship product Cogency into the international markets, generally across into the UK in the mid-September timeframe. As I said, our customers span the globe. If you look at an organization of our size, we really do have marquee customers. As you can see, we trade across all 3 of the major geographical territories in the Americas, where we have a strong, diverse vertical base that focuses on organizations that have regulated needs for protecting their sensitive information. In Europe, we focus on the encryption markets and really tightening up how they can supply and work within Microsoft environments, but are holding their own encryption keys. And in the APAC region, our main client is the Australian Ministry of Defence. But as you can see, we work very closely with a number of the large government organizations that are other agencies outside of defense, as well as defense industrial base as we move forward. So what are we all concerned about? What looks at what people are trying to protect? Again, if you open up the Journal of the Times every day, you look at things such as, Chinese theft, intellectual theft. You saw something in the U.S. about a recent Air National Guard airman sharing confidential secrets, through printing. Well, that's all putting the industry as well as national security at risk. And so organizations today are not only trying to protect what they call the network or the infrastructure around that and keeping people out, but at the end of the day, what people are trying to get to are the crown jewels or the documents or the files within an organization. ARHLF takes a real proactive look in providing that from a data-centric standpoint. The challenge that we're seeing, though, is that we're finding that over 2/3 of companies are experiencing breaches out there today. So imagine 1 out of 3 companies is being safe, and they are either hacked or they just don't know it yet. So organizations are getting targeted on a regular basis. And as I said earlier, there's a large market for that, but there's also a strong ROI for that, where the average hack, let alone being outside of national security concerns, has a strong financial impact of an individual breach being $3.1 million. And so what we're doing is we're looking at the opportunity of how we take a new defense strategy around what we look at as a zero trust and a data-centric approach. And what does the data-centric approach look like? The government has mandated that zero trust approach is an attempt to solve the issue. However, in a zero trust strategy, most companies focus on the networks and applications, but forget about the data. So zero trust should be when an end user is authorized to enter the system, every attempt to access any piece of data should also be validated each and every time. That's where NC Protect and Cogency help fill this crucial gap in creating a zero trust strategy. President Biden announced an executive action when he came into office, outlining that the nation is moving towards a zero trust environment. And ARHLF and our accompanying products are one of the few companies that provide a zero trust data-centric view on where we need to take that. And we look at that, and why is that important? Because when you look at sharing of information, ARHLF is really built upon trust. ARHLF's original name came from Architected Trusted Information Sharing. It's giving the ability to trust someone with the information that you either present to them or the ability to trust that they're going to be able to do what they can with it at that given time. And so when you look at how we empower owners to set their policies of how they leverage that across the business, we have the ability to implement that zero trust by delivering dynamic risk-based access to share, collaborate on that sensitive and classified information that's out there today. So just as kind of a review on what zero trust is, if you look at it, you have the components of zero trust right in front of us. Our core strategy and market tailwinds, look at how you provide a data-centric review around providing zero trust. We continue to differentiate ourselves by leveraging what we call attribute-based access controls. And you have these access or attributes right in your organization or individual on a day-to-day basis. Attributes can be built around users, location, network devices, data, or even policies. So you're looking at how do you build a policy that allows you to access data at any given time and being careful of who has that access, what can they do with that information, and how can they share it or access that information as they move forward. So let's talk about attribute-based access controls. It considers the properties of the user, such as the security clearance or role, the environment, such as location of the device, in conjunction with the sensitivity. It will deny, approve, access, or grant usage permissions based upon the principles that you've defined. Here's a simple example of how NC Protect uses ABAC. When working on a sensitive document in the office, which is a safe environment, you can be granted full access and usage rights. You can make changes, print and download the document to your desktop as much as you like. However, let's say you as a user change, and now you're either in a Starbucks or out on an airport or even in a different country. Now what happens is you become a user that has different edited profiles. So now at this point, you're not able to access the actual document, but we restrict what you can do with that document. So we open it up in a secure web browser, and then we can actually put a dynamic watermark on that to say what person by name opened up that document, when did they open it, and how important is this document. So if you looked what happened in the US with the airman breach a couple of months ago, we could have absolutely have stopped that breach or actually deferred a little bit of that, because if he shared that information, we would have known right away that it was an airman from the Air National Guard by name. We would have known when he printed out those documents or accessed that information, and we would have known that would have been top secret or clearance required information. So again, very dynamic in the way that we approach that. We approach this again through three core products that we have out there. Cogency is a platform that securely shares sensitive and classified files. We have a number of the top defense industrial bases in Australia that are sharing information at the top secret and protected layer with Australian Defence. It's an accredited secure document collaboration platform leveraging the previously mentioned ABAC technologies, and it provides a multi-level security platform for sharing of that information, the creation of collaboration, and allowing, again, who has access to what information, having the user set the policies on what that user can do at that given time. And then our second product actually sits on top of the Microsoft stack. With Microsoft handling over 85% of the collaboration out there today, Microsoft does a very good job in setting security parameters. What we do is we provide an added layer on top that provides dynamic access and data protection for things such as Microsoft SharePoint, file shares, and the cloud product of M365, including Teams. We break our product out into three tiers where we have the ability to discover, classify, and identify what actual information resides in those documents alone. Then we look at how we can prevent that data loss and misuse and take care of the human error by automating policies around who has access to what information. That allows us to enforce a zero trust attribute-based access control. We have the ability, incorporating a module of NC Encrypt, to provide independent key management, which is a bring your own key, which is used very strongly across Europe and the APAC region. That allows us to integrate with some of our partners. And then on the back end, have the ability to audit, report, and control for compliance and reporting standpoint. Again, which is very required in today's economic world. So when we look at all of that, we've defined kind of our growth strategies into three different areas. We want to be the preferred solution for the sharing of information across the government, defense, and defense industry, which we've proven already, and I'll talk about that in our customers. We want to be the premium provider of policy-based access controls for the global defense market, again, looking at our existing customers in the global defense industrial base, and be the thought leader for data-centric architecture. So that allows us to drive our existing partnerships, product innovation, and focus on government defense and industrial bases as we are today. And really, when we look at the target market, again, for a smaller company, we want to be capital efficient. The best part about our products is we can sell to anybody. The worst part about our products is we can sell to anybody. And that as a small growing technology company, we need to be very focused on what markets we're going to address, again, to make sure that we maintain that capital efficiency. In the global defense and defense industrial space, there's obviously an identified need, what's going on with nation state hacking, nefarious access into securing national security. And so there's been identified need around the mandated zero trust architecture that we talked about, mandated requirements around data-centric security. So again, that allows us to leverage our existing relationships, creates barriers to entry, and again, defense is generally recession-proof. So we've seen that across what we've gone through with COVID, where we continue to build our core base, and through some of the technology challenges that the markets have gone through, where we've been able to continue to drive and grow revenue. So I'd like to take you through one of our existing customers. One of our marquee customers is the Australian government and the Australian Ministry of Defence. We've closed over $17 million of Australian dollars to date, and it's really broken out into two of our last year's major awards. In 2022, we had a $7 million award, which is our largest sale in the company history, to secure protected and top secret networks across the Australian Defence and the way that they communicate across Five Eyes and other coalition forces. And recently, we were just awarded a $4 million contract to help modernize the workplace environment using a data-centric security approach. And so we're assisting, not only consulting, but actually bringing our products in and dragging the product from a drag-through standpoint and providing that military-grade secure access collaboration sharing of classified and sensitive information. The nice thing about this is also a reference account, and that we can bring in Brigadier General Warren Gould into other conversations with those such as the U.S. Defense, the NATO, different European defense agencies, and we're a validated, credentialed product as we drive into those areas. So we're very strong and pleased about the relationship that we have with that, and we only see that getting deeper and stronger as we continue to move forward. During the last quarter, I just want to share, just in the last quarter alone, we've demonstrated continued and strong customer adoption, supporting our core growth objectives. As I mentioned, the Australian Ministry of Defence for a $4 million proof of concept to modernize the workforce. We've worked with an Australian university, extending our core solution for structured data into the Microsoft Power BI, which opens up new market opportunities. And we're really encouraged by two of our deals where we were particularly in Europe, where the investments in our NC Encrypt which we launched at the end of last calendar year, are starting to provide strong returns. We look at how we provided that solution into such organizations such as DHL and the Bank of Finland, where we upgraded them from their prior CP Protect product, which we acquired, brought them over from an on-prem system into the cloud, and allowed them to have a separate key management and data sovereignty in the cloud. So we're seeing more and more opportunity in assisting companies in driving these policy-based orchestrations into the globe today. And lastly, I think it helps to show a little bit of what we're doing within the channel. We'll talk about our distribution strategy in a moment, but one of our channel partners, iSprint, based out of Singapore, has a strong relationship with School for Kids. It's a reference account that purchased an additional 190 NC Protect licenses through our distributor, iSprint. And what that really shows is how our reseller channel and expanded distribution strategy allows us to scale the business more efficiently than going out and hiring just a straight sales force. Looking at where that distribution strategy goes, we really, again, look at focusing on three areas across APAC, including Asia and Australia, the Americas, including the US Fed, and EMEA. We have really a two-tiered distribution strategy system where we have a number of direct salespeople across these geographical areas that focus on key enterprise opportunities, including defense agencies. And then when we look at carrying other partners and scaling these opportunities, we carry them through value-added partners that are generally either Microsoft partners or trusted advisors that carry those relationships. We build those relationships through some of our strategic alliances with Microsoft, including some of the DIBs with Thales and NetApp, and even into some of the security providers that are large, including large organizations across the US Fed, including Optiv. So when we drive, how do we break out our revenue? We really focus on, again, revenue threads that enhance what our core opportunity and core strategy as we go to market. We look at the various defense agencies, so how we can go deeper into Australian defense, how we drive into other Five Eyes, and how we're looking at existing coalition forces relationships that across things such as AUKUS, NATO, etc., looking at existing POCs and a number of quoted opportunities. The defense industry, again, looking at organizations that are some of the largest manufacturers in the world, such as Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. How do we work with them on a sell-to, sell-through model to assist them with some of their import-export needs around ITARs, which is importing and exporting information, as well as some of the CMMC, which is around certification of a export-import model, and looking at different ways of driving policy. And then working closely with Microsoft, and then some of the targeted existing accounts that we have in opportunistic opportunities. And that's driving us and allowing us to drive product innovation as we become a customer-driven company and looking at ways of expanding. We're looking at ways of not only looking at files and Microsoft aspects, but looking at different components. And so looking at structured data and how do we expand on market opportunity, and looking at ways of providing things such as Microsoft Power BI, SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, other structured data, and how we drive that. Integrating into other products that are already out there and leveraging that. And as I said, bringing out through product innovation our Cogency International Market during the September timeframe. And then finally getting to our close, we look at those leading economic global alliances that we have. We are a Microsoft co-sell partner. We sell across the Azure marketplace where Microsoft actually sells the products for us. Microsoft has recognized our products by providing us as a finalist for the Microsoft Security Excellence Awards. We've had multiple go-to-market and marketing activities, including executive meetings with senior Microsoft executives on a regular basis. And we have a very strong U.S. government and co-sell pipeline mapping to the U.S. fiscal year end. We also work very closely with French DIB Thales. We are a name verified solution. We integrate into their products, and we have different alliances and working with them and selling across their cloud product licensing team to really drive, again, that added scalability within the markets themselves. And then lastly, we just announced yesterday a strong relationship that we are a NetApp preferred provider. We are part of their ISV program. We are certified to integrate into their ONTAP program, and that allows us to provide additional key defense initiatives around securing file share data in the actual documents and files themselves. And lastly, when we talk about gaining mindshare, for a smaller organization such as ARCTIS out in the marketplace, we punch above our weight. We look at how we gain market share out there. We've influenced hundreds of different PR articles that have been out there exposing ARCTIS out to the different targeted markets. We look at how we create that thought leadership in the market. We're recognized by multiple awards out there, and we're covered by a number of analysts as we drive out there. So in closing, why invest now? Number one, we really think that there's a fantastic market opportunity out there, market tailwinds. We're executing on our financial growth strategy as provided by the acceptance and the achievement of our outlooks. The market validation is driving towards scale and leveraging the Australian Ministry of Defence, going deeper and going into other coalition forces. We're providing those marquee and established product offerings. And then we have that global customer base that we're starting to really build. So we feel that we're driving good value. We're creating repeatable growth. We have industry-leading partners and customers, and we're driving strong tailwinds. So at this point, I will turn it over to the question and answer period and answer anything that you may have. So let me just look in the queue here. So one of the questions is, when you record the POC for the Australian defence revenue, is there potential add-on contracts? Well, a POC is a proof of concept. So our expectation is that if we do the proof of concept properly, we'll have the ability to sell into an enterprise agreement. The proof of concept was $4 million, and so we expect enterprise agreements obviously to be more than that as we look forward. We sell into a recurring revenue model, and so when we look at what our annual licensing fees are, we look at the predictability of that. So when we look on what a customer value or an enterprise value of a customer is, we're looking at 4 to 5 times what the initial annual contract is, just given the life cycle of our business as we go forward. Another question, can you discuss your sales channels, resources, and how long your typical sales cycles are? Well, we look at really, again, breaking that out into 3 tiers. If you look at your average defense agency sale, those are long cycles. And we've been in some of these cycles for a long period of time, whether it's across the Australian Ministry of Defense, heading into the US and even to the European theater. They can take anywhere from 18 to 24, even 36 months. We're dealing with multifaceted, complicated, multi-buyer organizations that need things such as certification. They look at budget cycles and everything that's associated with it. The market tailwinds of going on right now with zero trust and being data-centric from a mandate standpoint, shortening those sales cycles. So we're looking very strong at that. The mid-tier, when we look at working with some of the DIBs, obviously when you're looking at a Boeing, a Lockheed, a Northrop, those are large organizations, large enterprises as well. Those will take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, again, depending upon the need and the cycle. And as we look at some of the smaller DIBs, organizations that have, maybe under 1,000 people, those generally take anywhere from 90 to maybe 180 days. Going through what is generally an evaluation process, we go through maybe a 1 or 2 week proof of concept as required and going forward, and then look to go through the procurement cycles. So it really depends upon the size of the organization and the complexity of the sale. So I guess when we look at, the next question is, congratulations on your recent contracts that you mentioned, namely the Bank of Finland. What sort of resources do you have in place for a global sales strategy? Well, we have feet on the street in all of the different regions that we have. So we have teams here in the US. We have a strong team that is really our focus team and our core engineering team down in Australia. And then we actually have feet on the ground in the European theater. So we're able to go in and support those customers and maintain being a customer-led company. And I think that's proven that we've done that through our very minimal churn, again, from an ARR standpoint. We're able to go into new opportunities and scale them into other regions, maybe new verticals or other geographical regions through our channel. So the resellers, the partners, the alliances, that's what's really built us out. So I think I have time for one more question. What are your milestones and growth catalysts for FY24? Well, number one, we will be announcing our year-end audited results at the end of August. So I urge you to join in for that seminar, that webinar, as we look forward to that. We'll also be talking a little bit more about what our FY24 strategy and outlook is. But it really revolves around, again, I think executing on what we've been successful in so far. And that's driving large opportunities with known coalition defense forces. And again, those are 7-figure defense opportunities. Driving opportunity within the defense industrial base where we are referred, recommended, and valued and can go in and expand on that. And that allows us to continue to drive product innovation that focus on creating that zero trust data-centric approach across the mandated requirements that are really going across the global basis. And then lastly, really looking at how we scale the business. And that scale the business is driving that distribution strategy, looking at ways we continue to be that leading indicator, that real authority on where we drive the business and how we can take this business moving forward. So as my time expires, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Again, I'm up on the website, Kurt Muffelman, and we're at archtis.com. And I look forward to speaking to you and following up with any questions you may have going forward. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the